Hi, I'm Aviran. I'm VP of Engineering for Wix. So I'm gonna talk about the path and the way that Wix grew from a small startup company, how we were able to change and evolve our structure and our methodologies to become 2,700 people company. So a short introduction about Wix for those of you who don't know. I mean, Wix is a website building platform. It's actually more than just a website building platform. It serves small businesses where every business can find their own vertical and build and have their own solutions for managing their business. And also, as Wix goes from the non-technical people to the most technical person, aka developers, Wix also offers a cloud platform where you can develop on top of Wix, run on a serverless environment, cloud environment, get your own database, and actually develop your own custom solutions where Wix doesn't give you a solution. There are plenty of chairs here. Okay, a little bit about Wix. So Wix has about 150 million users who use our platform to build websites. We run in over 20 data centers or point of presence across the globe. We're a multi-cloud platform, so we run both on Amazon and Google, and some things on Azure also. About 50% of Wix are developers or in the R&D. So, as I say, let's talk about the story of how we grew from 100 to 1,000. It's actually 2,700 people. It was a rapid growth. It was in about 5 years. And in order to tell the story, we need to go to the beginning, how Wix worked. When I joined Wix, we were about a 100 people company. And we had basically in the R&D, we had two teams. We have the back-end team or the server team, and we had the front-end team. Basically, we developed one or two services or one product. It was the Flash website builder. And things were going pretty well when we have one product to ship. But as we started to grow and add more and more products, we noticed that we're kind of shifting resources between our product or between the new features. So new features will get all the attention, and the old features on the old product got stagnated. And this caused kind of a problem for us because by no means the previous features of the previous products were complete. Okay, so we kind of neglected everything old, or maybe a month old or 2 months old, and everybody just went to the new product or features. So so we faced a kind of an issue. How are we going to solve these things? So when we looked at how companies are modeled, we kind of see that there are two main structures. One, there is the functional unit, which this is where we were. We have the backend teams and the frontend team that kind of shifted resources, and the business model unit where you have people who are dedicated to just one business unit or just one module. None of those are perfect. If you look at the functional model, There's lack of product ownership. There's no really expertise. It's like just like outsource. You go and do this feature here, and then shift to do this feature on a different product. You can't really plan your roadmap because you don't know if your people, your resources will just shift to the new things. So you can do long-term plans. In the business model unit, where everybody have their own resources, there are basically silos. So you got work duplications because each business unit just develop whatever they want, and they don't speak with each other. To do the architectural alignment is kind of hard because everybody's doing their own thing. They're kind of independent. It's hard to share knowledge between those groups, and you're kind of limited in your professional development because you're stuck in your own domains. There are also advantages to both. It's not just disadvantages. But our assumption is that there's no perfect model. Both have advantages and disadvantages, and it really depends on the point in time where the company is at to select the best working structure. So, since we saw the cons in both and the pros in both, we were kind of thinking, well, what can we do to eat the cake and keep it whole, So we decided to try to do some kind of a fusion between those two models. So this is when we were around 400 people. We started to shift towards a new structures, which is called gang and guilds. So initially we had those. I'm just talking about the R&D here, so think about it as the entire company. But this was the main challenge is the R&D. So we have the server development and the client teams, and what basically we did is, instead of having those teams as a product developing teams where they shift resources, we decided to have the guild structure. So basically what a guild is a group of people that share expertise, knowledge, but most importantly, they also share the tools and the practices. Okay? And on top of those guilds, we created the gangs. So basically, these are your functional teams, and these are your business teams. So the gangs are the business units. It's a group of people that they work on a related area, on a related domain, and they develop the products. So why was this model good for us? It gave us the flexibility to have the independency of each gang, but also the technical power of the guild. So the people share knowledge. They belong to the same community, as you say. And we created a balance between the product, which is very feature-driven and want to go ahead with, okay, add me this feature, this feature, this feature, and the guilds that are more of a quality-driven structure. So we try to create some kind of balance. So basically, a person that works in a gang, his day-to-day is in the gang. So the company, the gang tells the developer, okay, this is what we need you to do. And the guild tells how you should do it. Okay, these are the development stack, these are the frameworks, these are the development methodology. This is how you should work. Now there are roles within it. So within the gang, we have the team lead. Every team member belongs to 2 organizations. One is the gang and one is the guild. In the guild, we got the guild leader, the guild manager, and we also have a guild master. The guild master is it's the best way that I can describe a guild master. It's kind of an architect. We don't have an architect title. We don't have any titles in Wix, but architect titles. So it's a kind of an expert that they're responsible for helping other guild members in education, helping companies in achieving their goals. And most importantly, the guild owns the infrastructure teams that are building all the frameworks that are shared between the developers that are in the gangs. By building the same tools and everybody working in the same tools, we create a culture and methodology that is based on tooling and not on telling. Telling. Okay, so what is the guild's responsibility? So the guild is responsible for recruiting people. This is very important. Because we took out the recruiting from the gangs. Remember, we want the gangs to have independence, but we also want to have an alignment and maintain the quality and the level of people that coming into the organization. So the guild is responsible for recruitment. Thus, we preserve the quality of people and not creating subcultures or substandard gangs that maybe they're very stressed on having people on board and thus lowering the level of people that they want to get. So once you got recruited, you're being assigned to a gang by the guild and by the requirements from the gangs. It's setting the professional standards. It's responsible for the trainings and also setting compensation when you get when you get the negotiations or when you get a compensation, a raise. It always have to be an agreement between the guild and the company. Okay, and this way we don't create local optimums. Okay, so a company have a very limited view of the world because they see only themselves, and they may have a bunch of people where they say, okay, this developer is like this the best developer that I have. But in reality, when the guild is looking across the entire company, the guild can say, yeah, maybe you think he's the best in your gang, but related to entire weeks or to the entire week, he can be a mid developer. Okay, so we create the alignment and the adjustments between companies and guild. But one of the most important thing that the guild is doing is enabling the product teams to succeed. Okay, the guild has no agenda in getting companies, in doing stuff that is not related or that doesn't support the product teams. Okay, so the guild is an organization that is kind of selfless, that its whole purpose is to keep the quality and enable the success of the company. So this is how we started. And then we continued to grow. And when we got to about 800 people, we kind of started to feel, okay, this is not a startup anymore. And it becomes too much to manage too many gangs. Okay, so we had a bunch of gangs. We had dozens of gangs, and it was really hard to manage and really hard to make decisions. So we did the extra step where we created another top-level organizations where we grouped the gangs in something that we call companies. So now think of Wix as a collection of startups that they have their own resources, their own teams, and they can make a very short decision making where they can decide basically everything that they need to decide without raising to management. I'll talk about it a little bit in the next slide. So for every company at Wix, which is a kind of a startup, we got the CEO or the engineering manager, the CTO, VPR, and there are no really official titles in Wix, so you can call whatever you want. And you got the gangs, the teams that work on the same domain. Now this is not just one feature or one product. It can be a collection of products that relate to some kind of domain. They have their own product people. And of course, we still have the guilds that keeping the alignment. But what we have here is we created product silos. So before, when we had silos, we created the guild so we will not have the technological silos. But now this structure has an actual product silos. So in order to overcome this, we said, okay, what happens when you have a startup? You go to, you have a management board, okay? So just like a startup, we have the Wix corporate management teams where every company head has a chairman, just like is the board member of that company, that keeps the company aligned with the Wix's main strategy or main goals. So while company has a lot of autonomy, they don't have complete autonomy. They still need to align to the Wix overall structure. But this structure actually, what the main advantage here is, like I said before, is it creates a way to have very fast decisions without having to raise everything to upper management. So in Wix we have a rule that the company manager can make almost any decision, him and their chairman. If they make a decision, so it's 99% of the time, nobody will intervene with that decision. So it doesn't have to have a lot of committees and discussions in management for every small or large decisions. Okay, so this structure made us very agile in decision making. And also, everybody here, they work for the guilds, and everybody run on the same platform. And they do the same thing. Their methodologies are the same. They report with the same BI events to the same system. They do the same. They deploy the same way. So while working on the same infrastructure, it allows Wix as a whole to see the complete picture. So now the guild also had to evolve. Okay, so instead of aligning between gangs, now it has to align between companies. It supports engineering working within companies. It provided reviews and guidelines to new products. Again, the guilds are developing the shared infrastructure and trying to constantly evolve and improve the development velocity. Now, what this structure also enables us to do is enable the companies to compete with huge companies. Okay, remember, Wix has a very large number of vertical of business units. So take, for example, our e-commerce platform. Okay, it's for Wix, it's a feature. It's a major feature. But how would the e-commerce company, which is about 50 people, are going to compete against Shopify? Okay, Shopify is a 4,000 people company. It's bigger than the entire Wix. Okay, how a 50 people startup can compete again against Shopify? And the reason that they can compete is because Wix takes a lot of the overhead that, let's say, Shopify has. Okay. The company doesn't need to worry about scaling the infrastructure. It doesn't need to worry about recruiting. It doesn't need to worry about training. It doesn't need to worry about improving the developer tools. Okay, everything is backed by the guilds or by the cross-engineering teams that they take all this overhead, which allows a very small company to act like a startup and run very, very, very fast. Okay, and this applies to every company. So a small company can actually compete, and if you look at Wix, in many business units, in many companies, many verticals, the Wix's offering is actually competing very successfully with the market leaders. Okay, if it's e-commerce, if it's booking, if it's in payments, if it's a lot of different business units, a lot of different companies, they compete very successfully because they are backed by those large infrastructure teams and the guild that helping and supporting them. So how do we do it? We do it by architecture, which is a very important way in order for you to scale your company. If you know Conway's law, it says your architecture is basically a mirror image, I'm ad-libbing, of your organizational structure. So actually, when we started, we were functional teams. A lot of people worked on the same product, which actually created a huge monolith. Once we started to break into gangs, into small teams, we needed to scale engineering, and by scaling engineering, we needed the architecture that supported engineering scale is actually microservices. Okay, by moving into microservices architecture, it allowed us to scale our engineering effort and move a lot faster. So microservices means that we had small teams, and in order to have small teams, we have small rooms. If you visited our offices, you see it's not by chance that we don't have open spaces, or maybe in the premium, but and you have a large monolith. So we build rooms to fit a team, and we fit a team. You create small microservices, also the infrastructure that supports that. It also, the microservices architecture allowed us to minimize the dependencies. Okay, it's a loosely coupled architecture. Every product, every team can work on their own pace and deploy at their own speed. They have their own life cycle. There are no really release dependencies between teams. You don't need a lot of overhead in coordinating between teams. So when we're talking about microservices, a lot of times I hear, yeah, microservices you can build in any language, it supports everything, it's kind of a magical thing. And if you don't do microservices and you think about it and you think that you can have any stack and have any group do whatever, don't. Okay? If you get to success and you want to scale, I find it that it is very important to limit your stack, because then you can reuse a lot of it. Okay, and then when you progress something in one stack, everybody just enjoy it. Otherwise, you will have a lot of infrastructure teams that need to have feature parities between all those stacks. If you have a security issue or you need to replace a session, cookie, or whatever, then you have to implement it as many times as you have stacks in production. So once you limit the stack, you do the work once or twice, depending how many standard stacks that you want to have, and it allows us to move faster. At Wix, we have about over 800 microservices, and we deploy 300 times a day. Okay, so it allows us to progress very, very, very fast. Now, one major thing that is very important is culture. You need culture that rocks. We're very big on responsibility. Everyone is responsible for their own things. Ownership, quality, and sharing, those are key values for Wix. And if you think about it, there's a one common denominator between all those people that they're kind of specialty, like product manager, QA, operations, DBA. There's one common denominator, and this common denominator is that developers can do those things. They may be not experts, but they can do those things. If you think about a startup with the two people, one of them is a developer that does everything, right? And it kind of brings us to the this is the most important slide of this presentation, to the actual culture. Okay, so Wix has a developer-centric culture. It means that we enable and trust the developers with almost everything. It's their responsibility to ship the product, and they get support from everyone. It doesn't mean that they're the experts. Okay, developers need to be included and involved in products. Of course, they're doing the development, the testing, the deployment and rollback. Nobody can ask permissions to do deployments and rollbacks. Doing the monitoring, the test, the operations, and we have the support teams, the cross-engineering teams that support this progression. Okay, and it allows us to change our production like every 2 minutes. If you live at Wix, for people that work at Wix, it doesn't seem like okay, we're doing it, but we have a very big support system to allow us to do every 2 minutes. If you look at Wix, you see something changes in our system. And when you do this rapid development and rapid changes, TDD is the key. If you don't do tests, you probably will not be able to deploy and progress as fast. Again, quality is a key factor for success and progression. And when you have good quality, you got better engineers. If you have better engineers, you can actually grow better as a profession. And once you do that, you can invest more in people and training and This is where, actually, again, going back, this is where the guild comes and actually help in making all these things happen. So how does it work? Okay, so the secret sauce. So in Wix we have 20% of the time of a person is dedicated to a guild. So it's dedicated to their professional growth and to learning and actually to improve. So essentially, we have 1 day a week. In our case, it's Thursday, where developers leaving their companies, their product, and coming to something that is called a guild day to be trained and to be a better professional. The goals of the guild day is one of the major goals is actually to create a community. Okay, it's to build relationships between teams. Remember, every team works in their own company. They kind of isolated, they kind of siloed. And this day where everybody meet, and they meet people from different company, it helps build the relationship. It's sharing knowledge and expertise between companies. Everybody have kind of assimilating to the same culture. It doesn't create, subculture within every siloed. Okay, and the idea is just to continuously improve not just our systems but also our people. This is how a typical guild day look like. Okay, we have a general updates. We got project spotlights where teams just tell. This is a very old picture. Where teams just tell about the new things that happening or new technologies that they invested. All the veterans at Wix remember this day. And then we do like themed learning workshops, and then there are kind of tracks that people can choose things that interest them to learn. One more thing that we have is something that we called Guild Weeks. It used to be called a Game of Gang. We kind of gamified this thing, which is no longer gamified. So the idea is that every 1 week in a quarter or 2 weeks every 2 quarters, developers go to a Guild Week and they perform pair programming with people from different companies about different tasks. They can work on infrastructures, they can work on developer tools, they can help other companies join another team, they can work on preparing workshops or lecture for a guild day, they can work on open source, a lot of tracks that they can choose during this week. The number one goal is, of course, to improve the engineering skills and quality, not to finish those tasks. Of course, they finish the tasks. We try to build 1 week tasks that people actually can finish. Transparency is a very important theme here at Wix. We invest a lot of effort in being transparent. Our offices are made of glass. Communicate in every channel that is possible, videos, Monday, Slack, Stack Overflow, for Teams, Confluence, WhatsApp, any means that we find way to communicate about things that are happening, we'll try. Zaidman, this is for you. Growing new teams, again, it's all about the people. Hiring is a very important process, and this is actually, it's a true story of a person that wanted to work at Wix. He didn't, by the way. But again, it needs a cultural fit, candidate can be dropped. It's very important to get the right people to work and to seed new teams with people that actually are assimilated to the culture, that they know how things work, and this makes a more successful teams.
Can you
Yes.
go back 2 slides?
Yes.
Candidates can be dropped by anyone at any time? That's pretty scary.
If it's a candidate, so basically the way that we have people that are interviewing, and we give them a score. We give a candidate a score between 1 to 4. 1 is, I'm not willing that this person will work at Wix ever. Not ever, but it's a strong no. And then didn't pass, and this person has to work at Wix. So if a person gets from someone, I'm not willing this person to be working here, like 1, then this person can be dropped after 1 interview. This is a controversial topic. If you wanted to hire a team lead directly to a team lead position, I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. I'm saying if we prefer not to do it, just because when people comes directly into a leading position, they bring whatever culture that they had, which doesn't always fit with the Wix culture. From our experience, in many cases, it just doesn't work out. So we prefer bring a person in, be a couple of months in just an engineering position, learn the culture, learn what works and what doesn't work. Every company have their own culture and quirks and things that make a leader work, and then be placed as a team lead. Again, it doesn't happen in 100% of the time. Sometimes people do get into the leadership position, but if we are able not to do it on the first day, then it's a much better process. I'll skip that. So just to wrap up, so basically what we created is we created a structure that kind of balances between feature-driven and quality-driven. So guilds and companies are creating tension, a healthy tension between fast delivery and execution and quality and long-term quality. And I'm gonna leave you with that. I'm not gonna read it. If you want to read more, there are 2 blog posts that I've written, and now I have a couple of minutes for questions. So you ask, how does the guild know? So the guild knows because the guild, there are people working in the guild. So there are guild management, guild masters that are always in touch with people. There are always those connections, people coming to the guild day, they're coming to guild weeks, the guild master going from company to company, the guild management are going and getting feedback about people from their team leads and from the R&D management. So we always try to stay informed about the people. And and remember, guilds are here to help companies. So if there's someone that is struggling, then the team lead or the R&D manager will come to the guild and ask, hey, this person need help or this person need training in that areas. And we try to maybe assign someone to them or put a guild master, or in the guild week when we do the pairing, it's not arbitrary. We pair people in the guild week according to the task needs and according to people needs. Okay, so we'll pair someone that maybe need help in testing, we'll pair him with someone that is expert in testing. Okay, or two seniors that they can learn from each other, a senior and a junior that the junior can learn from the senior, and so on and so forth. So Guild is very knowledgeable about people.
The ratio between guild manager, guild leaders, and the guild size?
Very low. It's what?
One second,
So in each site, we have multiple sites. So each site has they're kind of independent. So here in Tel Aviv, for instance, we have about 2 guild masters for 100 and something developers, and 4 guild managers. That's about the ratio. We're kind of now in the process of our next guild evolution, because now we're 2,700 people, and this we kind of scaled out of this being effective. So it is effective until some point, and now we're in the process of having something that is called an embedded guild master. So every company or a set of companies will get their own guild master embedded in the company. So this is another step of scaling that we're in the process of doing right now. All right, more questions? Yes?
What about business goals, revenue targets?
So business goals. So every company at Wix have business goals. It's not revenue based because Wix is a freemium company, and some of our companies they make zero money because their product that they're developing is free. For instance, the blog. Blog is it's the most popular feature or capability that we have. We have a company that is responsible for the blog, but the blog makes zero money. It's a free product. Okay. Every company they have their own KPIs. For instance, the blog, it's usage, and we have one main KPI, which is the Wix Premium. So every feature, Wix is very data-driven. Every feature that we deploy, we test it, and the one thing that you should not hurt is the Wix Premium. And every company is measured on their own KPI, but if they do something to increase their KPI while hurting the overall Wix Premium, then this feature will be dropped. Yes?
Would a company that makes more money for Wix, would those developers or business guild managers be rewarded more? In other words,
no.
To be working in an awesome guild makes a lot of money.
No. People are not rewarded by the amount of money that they make for Wix. Everybody are equal. Like I said, there are some companies that make zero money, some companies that make a lot of money. Okay, let's say the payments, they make a lot of money because they process all the payments for Wix, so what, they will get rewarded? No. It has nothing to do with the business performance. What will happen is maybe if a company makes a lot of revenue, they will get funded by having more budget for recruiting, for more people. Maybe they'll get more people in that company because we can, again, Wix is it's a business, then we may be investing more in those companies, but the developers that work for that companies or any other person will not get rewarded because by chance the company is making more money. All right, so we're out of time. I'm still here if you want to ask me. We have a short break, and then we'll have Joel. All right, thank you very much.